Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. I am really excited to be having this conversation today because it is something I am so passionate about. Those of you that have been around for a while know that I specialize in strategy and I'm so passionate about strategy. And the way I really see it is working smarter, not harder, in all kinds of ways. And I really want to have a conversation today around working smarter, not harder, as the human behind the business, because this is something I see that tends to get overlooked, is really focusing on either your mindset as the business owner or the strategy in your business. But I really like to also apply strategy to the operations as a human behind the business. Something that I see a lot of successful entrepreneurs doing. And when I started implementing this myself, of actually operating smarter rather than always harder in my business, the results actually paid off really, really well. Am I saying that you don't have to work hard in your business? No, that hard work is going to be required, but I think there's a lot of times where you could work more efficiently and effectively in your business. And that's what I want today's episode to be about, which I'm so excited to dive into. So, the first problem that I tend to see that can be avoided through working smarter rather than always harder is that a lot of service providers rely on themselves to be quote unquote on in order to receive sales and work and actually show up and serve clients in their business as a service provider. If that you actually know how to work smarter, not necessarily harder, that's not going to be the case. And a quote that I always love to pull on, anyone that's read Atomic Habits would know this quote from James Clear, who wrote the book. He says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." So that's going to apply in business, right? Like, you can't just say, I want to hit a 50K month if you don't actually have the systems and the ability to even generate that. Like, if you don't even have the offer suite to generate 50K months, it's just a goal, right? You don't actually have the structure there to even allow you to hit that goal. The same thing's going to apply to you as a human. So if you don't actually have the systems and structures in place, you're not going to be able to operate efficiently. If you get sick, it's going to be like the world is falling apart. If that life happens, right? Your kids might be sick, you might be navigating a season of grief in your life. If you don't know how to actually have the right systems in place in order to do that, to support the human that you are behind the business, your business isn't going to be able to grow, or it's going to only be able to grow to your own capacity and when you're quote unquote on. So this is the exact conversation that I really want to be having today, because a lot of people might not see the importance of this or think, I do work smart, like I've got all of the things in place. But typically, like, if you can relate to any of these things, being distraction, overwhelm, perfectionism, burnout, if you're confused, if you have a never-ending to-do list, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're not actually working smarter, not harder. Am I saying that when you start implementing these things will never happen? No, there's moments where I get overwhelmed, right? But that overwhelm is dissolved very, very quickly because I actually have my systems and structures in place to be able to prioritize and actually work smarter, not harder, rather than like, okay, now I've got to work these huge fucking days and I've got to like get through this list, and then it still feels never ending because, hello, as a business owner, our to-do lists are actually never fucking ending, right? There's always something more that we can be doing. But if you don't actually have the skill sets and the systems in place to support you, it's going to feel really cooked doing it, right? So what I want to touch on firstly is I actually want to bring up a bit of a client case study, if you will, because one of my clients, Shelby, this really, really stood out to me when I was creating today's episode. I was like, oh my fucking God, like Shelby has really done this work. And this is the work we focused on when that she first started working with me. And so much has shifted for her as a human and the way she feels operating her business, and as well as that, the results that she's experiencing in her business. And we haven't done any like crazy drastic shifts. It's been really, really simple. So for a little bit of context, Shelby is a holistic therapist and healer, and she also owns a wellness studio in Adelaide. So if you're in Adelaide, definitely find her because she is just fucking amazing. But in terms of the things that she was experiencing directly in her business, and as the business owner, she didn't have any structure in her business routine or schedule. So she was telling me that it would lead to her feeling overwhelmed with tasks and decision paralysis. And I'm sure we've all probably experienced this to some degree, where it just feels like you have way too much to do, and then it's like, I have no idea what to do, and then nothing actually gets done as a result. And she said it would lead to then procrastinating and wasting time in her business. She was also taking clients every single day and any time that suited them versus herself. So this led to so much wasted space between clients, where that she actually couldn't be productive with tasks and also had no quality time to work on the business. So when that she first started working with me, we did an overall audit of like what her routines actually looked like, how that she was showing up in her business, what things were getting done, what things were taking her away from her goals. And this was the first thing that stuck out to me, and I see this with a lot of business owners, is that they don't actually have designated days for specific tasks in their business. So that's the first thing that you can take away and implement from this episode, is actually doing an audit where do you actually have structure in your days and your weeks in your business? And if you have none, you need to actually implement some. Because for me, today, I'm recording this on a Wednesday. Wednesdays, I like to leave my schedule completely free pretty much. I don't have any client calls. I tend to not meet with my employee Kira Lee on this day. I don't do any like big tasks that are recurring. And then the reason being is I actually have this for spaciousness where I can create content. I can record a podcast episode like I am today. Maybe I do course creation. Maybe I'm working on something on the business. If I have a photo shoot, I might book that on the Wednesday. So it's not that I have space where I'm not doing anything, but it's intentional time where I can actually have that space. Then for me, I do client calls on Tuesdays and Fridays. So they are the only 2 days available where the clients can call. I can do client calls. I can do sessions with clients, or for like my one-off calls that clients can book. And this means, similar to Shelby, I can be so much more efficient where I can actually just have a day full of client calls and I don't really have anything else in between that I'm like responsible to do, right? So I might, of course, post to Instagram, talk on my stories, sell on my stories, do some little things in between if I don't have a big day of client calls, of course. But this allows me to be so much more efficient. Anyone who does like client sessions, client calls would know, like, it's hard. You might have a 30-minute gap, but like those 30 minutes aren't actually necessarily super productive. So I highly recommend that. And the next point that I want to get to, in what that she now does in a second, is actually having a day to work on your business. Because as the service provider and the business owner, you actually have to have time for both. You have to be able to be the service provider, whether you're the personal trainer, you're the fitness coach, you're the lash artist, the hairdresser, the healer, like whatever it is that you're doing as a service provider. And then also having a day where your business can actually get your attention. Because if you're expecting your business to grow and not actually designating any time, energy, or space to that, it's not going to grow. You're just literally going to be working a job where you're just servicing clients, not actually treating your business like a business. So the next thing that she said that she was experiencing is she was feeling super overwhelmed with all of the platforms that she wanted to create on. So most people can probably relate to this, where you've got Instagram, TikTok, podcasts, YouTube, maybe it's email marketing, maybe YouTube Shorts. There's so many platforms, LinkedIn, Snapchat, like there's a lot of places that you can be. And she felt overwhelmed because she didn't have a structure or strategy, which resulted in her not creating it all. So this was one thing that again came up in our first session. I was like, let's not try and do 4 platforms if A, we don't even have a social media strategy or any kind of strategy for these platforms, and B, how can we look at actually working smarter, not harder, with actual repurposing? Because you have to meet yourself where you're at. You can't compare to the big dogs of the industry that have, like, I was even watching a day in the life of Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, for those of you who don't know who Steve is. And he has so many content creators. Like, he had a guy just like following him along for his vlog, his actual trailers for his podcasts. He has 2 trailer editors, producers. Like, I think he has a team of like 30 just in Diary of a CEO, right? Just for this podcast and show production. So I think it's important that when that you are early, not even early days, I don't want to say quote unquote, but when that you are just a one-man band, or maybe you do just have a VA, like be intentional with your content. This even goes for your courses as well. If you're someone that creates courses, like how can you work smarter, not necessarily harder with it? So for me, I'm recording this podcast right now. This is going to go up on my podcast platform, so Apple and Spotify. It's going to go up on YouTube. It's also acting as a funnel into a course of mine, into a program. Then as well as that, this will be taken down into short clips that I can repurpose both on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram, right? This one piece of content is actually serving so many purposes. So look at whether you're trying to overly create all of these things, reinvent the wheel every single time, where you can actually, based on where you're at, work more efficiently. Second to that, when you actually have a strategy, you actually know what pieces of content make sense for those different platforms. I know that posting like all of these these podcast snippets aren't necessarily going to perform the best on TikTok. Like, yes, I might put one or two on there if that I really want to, but TikTok's not the platform for that, right? YouTube Shorts and Instagram is going to make a bit more sense for that, because they are actually platforms where I'm building more trust with my audience and people are there ready to actually move and consume a longer form piece of content from me. For example, YouTube Shorts, and then it's like you can go and watch the full video on YouTube, but it doesn't necessarily make the most sense for TikTok, where TikTok is such an attraction-based platform, right? So that's another way where that you can actually work smarter rather than harder in your business. And the next piece as well is that she didn't know what money was coming in and out of the business due to not having regular money meetings and unconsciously being scared to actually know. So again, this was picked up in our first call when I did a full audit of her business. We do a full like onboarding process when you work with me in a one-to-one capacity. And this is so important because you're seeing all of these things that you don't necessarily know you even need support and help with. Again, it's so important in your business to have structure and routines. This is something I definitely learned from my dad, being a business owner for over 20 years now. That was always just the norm that I saw from him, that I implemented into my business. And then once I worked with clients, I realized this wasn't the norm because it was never taught, right? We're not taught this is how to run a business. This is what you're supposed to do. So something I do in my business, which I preach to clients, is I have a money meeting I do it on Thursdays. You can do it any day of the week. But this is both from a like mindset and energetic lens, where I actually like come into so much gratitude for the money that is in, my business, that's flowing into my bank accounts. Like, I like to be really intentional. Anyone that's done any kind of money work knows that money and your relationship with money needs to be treated like any other relationship in your life. If you're so avoidant of it, where you're like walking down the street and you're doing these ones and you don't even want to, look at the money that is there, that's a problem. So it's for that reason to actually really strengthen your relationship with money and come into so much gratitude and awareness with money. But then equally too, actually having structure. So especially if you run your own business, and if you're just sporadically like paying yourself on a random day when you need some more money, it's going to feel quite dysregulating when business has a quote unquote low month, which is inevitable, right? Business is going to have its ebbs and flows. So if that you don't actually have any designated structure where every Thursday I get paid X amount, and that's something that you can actually budget for and fit into your business, and that all of your invoices get paid on a specific day, meaning like you're paying other people's invoices on that day. You're not just like constantly plugging in and out throughout the week and like putting your finger in 10 pies throughout the week. Okay, cool, that invoice came in on Monday, that gets paid on Thursday. Beautiful. You can actually reconcile. You can look at what money's coming in, what money's going out. That way too, every single week, that like you can pick up any kind of anomalies. If that you have, been overly charged for something, if that you realize that you haven't actually been invoiced for something, whatever it might be, there's actual structure to your week where you know what to actually look for and you do it on a regular occurrence. even for me as well, this is a time where I'm putting money aside for tax. I look at, okay, personally, I just do it week to week. I don't do it month to month purely because it is doing these ones. There's not like something super consistent. So I like to just go whatever needs to be put aside for tax and BAS for that week. I look at what came in that week and move it into that account. So things like that, there's actual structure there. I pay my employee, so I'm doing payroll. You have to do payroll on a consistent day. So again, if you're wanting to grow your business, you need to start treating it like a business. And this is what business owners do, is they're paying employees, right? I was having a conversation with my partner about this the other day because we're watching a podcast on Adrian Portelli. And he was saying like how much that he is like so in control of all of the finances. Like he doesn't let anyone else manage it for him. Like he'd have an accountant and things like that. And I said, like, that's exactly what my dad's like. Like every Wednesday he gets a big stack of paper on his desks and he is signing off on any money that's going out of the business account. He's checking all employee time slips, making sure everyone's getting paid correctly. Things like that, it's really fucking important to do, and do it on a regular occurrence. You're going to feel so much more regulated in your business. You can't out mindset and, you know, energetic and fucking meditate this shit. Like you actually have to have structure in your business, right? Am I saying that meditating is bad and wrong? No, I meditate and I fucking love it. It's so important, right? But it's not a conversation of this versus this. It's you actually need both. So let's move on to what Shelby is now experiencing, because this is just the biggest fucking slay. And we've actually only been working together for 3 months now. I think we just passed the 3-month mark. We had a call yesterday, which is really fucking cool. So Mondays are now her CEO days. So she no longer sees clients on Mondays, which is space for her to work on the business. And she also does her money meetings then. So it's had the biggest positive impact on her business. She was saying, so I now know exactly what's coming in and out of the business. I feel like making money is so much easier. Love. I'm feeling more creative and also plan out the week ahead in business, which helps me feel organized as well as excited for what's to come. Chef's kiss. I love this. Now she has back-to-back clients on her clients' days, which helps her see more clients and she wastes less time. Also love. I'm also able to have shorter working days, which helps me not burn out. Smarter, not harder, people. Smarter, not harder. I just love this so much. She has designated days for tasks and she puts similar tasks together as well as repurposes content for multiple platforms. Seriously, this work, like seriously, so fucking good. After working with Taylor, we've decided it's best to be on less platforms with more quality and content and offers. This helps me feel less overwhelmed, and I've also had way more clients book in for sessions. Smarter, not harder, people. We love. So she says, Taylor helped me become really clear on the types of clients I want to work with instead of wanting to work with everyone just to ensure I had clients. This helped me become more clear on who I serve and what my offers are. People book in with me with so much ease now, and I don't have to go back and forth messaging before they book in. I feel like I have a business instead of a hobby. I feel like I'm organized, productive with my time instead of my business feeling messy and overwhelming. The power of this work, people. It's so freaking important to actually learn strategy in your business. As we can see here, there's some overlaps, like strategy in terms of who are you speaking to? Who is your content for? How can we be strategic with our actual content strategy, with our micro and our macro content strategy? And then how can we also be strategic for the actual operations of our business? And this is what actually creates more spaciousness and more stillness for us. It's not actually about having to hustle all of the time and be super busy. Actually be productive, and productivity actually comes from working smarter with your time. So I have a list of 3 things for you if that you want to implement what you need to implement to achieve the same. I'm just going to give you 3 questions to start off with. You can go and do. So pause this if you're on your walk, write these down in your notes because I want you to come back to this. So what are your personal goals and objectives, right? Whenever you're creating any kind of strategy, this can be a specific marketing strategy. This can just be an overall overarching strategy. what is your overall goals and objectives that you need to reverse engineer to? So is it that you want to serve more clients? Is it that you want more flexibility? Is it that you want to actually start later? You know, like you're sick of starting work at 6 a.m. Like you actually want to have a morning routine. Nothing is wrong or right in this. Is it that you want to increase cash flow in your business? Get clear on those goals and objectives. Then look at what is currently slowing you down or getting in your way. Is it that you don't actually have enough time? Is it your energy levels? Is it your capacity? Look at what's getting in your way. Identify what's getting in your way, because so often people don't even do that. They don't even get clear on, oh, that's actually getting in my way. And if you don't necessarily know, I can guarantee there'll at least be a few dot points if you give yourself more than 10 seconds to actually audit this and have a look. But this is again where external support comes in so beneficial, where you can actually learn from others, because again, similar to Shelby, you don't know what you don't know, right? And that's perfect and that's fine. And those that grow actually they grow because they were willing to actually get support from someone that specializes in this work, aka me. Once you've identified that, look at what needs to be added or removed from the equation, right? So I'm going to use Shelby as an example. So she wanted to grow her business, increase clients, free up more time, and feel more organized in her business, right? They are 4 objectives. So we got really clear on what was currently getting in her way, aka, you know, working with clients at any time. They could book in at any time. She was advertising and marketing to any type of clientele to try and get those clientele, right? And it seems like you'd actually create more space for more clients, but she's actually shortened it down, gotten more specific on who she's speaking to, and just increased her clientele, right? So what we did is we made a client-free day where she had just client days, and she also had a day to work on her business. She made that CEO Monday a day to plan and organize and actually have structure to her week. So rather than coming and looking at her list on a Monday and going, oh my God, I have 25 tasks to do, you can actually sit down and go, okay, cool. That's requires, you know, my time and energy right now. This one's not so urgent. I might put that on Friday. This needs to be done here, here, and here. And you can actually have structure, and you learn the skill of prioritization versus, you know, having all of these things going on where it feels like a massive to-do list. You can actually have structure to it. I was actually saying this to Shelby on a call yesterday. I have until basically like the next 4 months very specifically planned out. And usually I have the gist of what's happening, but not as specific and these are all the to-dos. And when I plan this with Kira Lee, I'm looking at my whiteboard over here across from me. It's full. There's a lot going on, and we have this structured in our Notion, in our portal, which is included in Smarter Not Harder, by the way. But everything's planned into there. So now each week I have a refresh of what needs to be achieved for that massive project every single week, and then anything else in between, aka filming this podcast, editing this podcast. It's all structured and it's all delegated to a date and a person, being myself or Kira Lee, and we can actually then make progress through this list versus feeling like we have that analysis paralysis of so many things going on at the one time. So the other thing that we did with Shelby, as I kind of mentioned, is implemented a weekly money meeting for the purpose of your relationship with money, and then also having some structure to your week with finances. We made a clear marketing strategy. Again, hello. We focused on scalable offers so she could actually free up more time in her business as well. So whilst this isn't necessarily specific to the human side of things, this is again working smarter, not harder in your business. It actually probably makes more sense to have some scalable offers in there and not just trying to scale off one-to-one, right? This is all strategy. Strategy is simply working smarter, not harder. Then we actually looked at where she can use her time more effectively, and implementing tools and resources to help that as well, right? So even something that I utilize every single day is my digital planner, which is available to purchase on my website. You can have a little look-see. It's game changer. Like, it's actually a game changer. All of my friends that I've shown certain things onto, like, I have my whole Europe trip planned out for literally a year's time. Obviously, we still have things to plan for it, but like, the structure is insane. The planning for my podcast is beautiful. Right now, I have my notes up in front of me, and that comes from my marketing tab, which comes from my podcast tab. And then I can actually see here that this is a podcast that needs to be created. I've already recorded the next 2 podcast episodes that are coming up, and their status is that they have been filmed and they need to be edited. And then Kira Lee can go in and edit and schedule. Like, it's literally so fucking good. All of my content's planned. I have an overall marketing calendar where I know everything that's happening when podcasts are going out, when pieces of content are going out, when YouTube videos are going out. It's literally game changer if you're a business owner. But that is just some things that we implement. And I hope after you've listened to this, you're like, okay, wow. Like, and I always see this is never ending work, like, and not in a bad way, but it's like, you always want to be looking at how you can work more efficiently, how you can work smarter, how you can be more effective in the work that you do, and get support in that. So if this is something where you're like, yeah, I actually need support in this, jump onto my website, which is always linked, www.taylorlee.com.au, because we're an Aussie girl. You'll be able to find information under the program section around Smarter Not Harder. This is a completely self-paced program, which is just giving you all of these tools, resources, tips, and tricks that you need to know to actually work smarter, not harder in your business. This can even be someone, if you're in a professional career and you're like, I actually want more structure to, how I operate working in my job, or maybe you're a uni student and it's the same. You will also get access to the strategic digital planner for free in this. So fucking good. So go there, find out more information. You can use the code PODDY10 for a 10% discount. This is really cool because we know exactly where you came from. So use that if you're coming from here. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to send me a DM on Instagram, and I would be more than happy to chat if this is going to be for you. Chat to me about like what struggles you're finding the most in, your weeks, your routines with business, your goals, and we can have a conversation. I would love nothing more, and I can point you in the right direction, even if it's that you actually need a lot more, marketing support. I will point you in the right direction, so you don't need to worry about that. But I hope you have the most incredible rest of your day wherever you're listening to this from. I hope that you got so much value out of that. Shout out to Shelby, you absolute queen. Like, I just love this so much that she's been able to do so much and shift so much in her business through this approach in literally a matter of weeks. So fucking cool. I love the work that I do. So love you all so much. See you, love you, bye. Thanks for coming, and I will see you in the next episode, or I will see you over on Instagram. Bye.